Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with NFL Week 1, got the Cowboys, Browns in Cleveland. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, we got Dallas on the road in Cleveland for this one. Browns are currently sitting as short home favorites, 2.5 across the board. Total sitting at 40.5, well, mostly 41. So pretty much 41 for the total. So let's go ahead and get into this one, and we'll start with the Cleveland defense, which we know is elite. Arguably the best defensive football last year, third in the NFL in yards per play allowed, first in success rate, first in EPA, second in overall defensive DVOA. Now, there were some questions as to the quarterbacks that Cleveland saw last year. Here's several of them. Ryan Tannehill, Clayton Tune, Kenny Pickett twice, Justin Fields, Trevor Siemian, Davis Mills, Jake Browning, Gardner Minshew. Yeah, maybe a little bit lucky in that aspect, but I mean, I'm not the type of person to take away credit from a defense from that type of thing, but I feel we do need to point out that they did have a relatively easy schedule in terms of the quarterbacks they saw. Dak Prescott obviously doesn't belong on a list with these guys. Speaking of Dak Prescott, there are a couple angles I really like for Dak here. Number one, we know this is a Cleveland Browns team that was anchored by its pass rush last year with Myles Garrett. Dak, one of the best quarterbacks in football last year when pressured. When pressured last year, Dak Prescott, 7.9 yards per attempt, 97.3 passer rating. That's second and third amongst 39 qualified quarterbacks in the NFL. Also fifth in turnover-worthy play rate. So it didn't really turn the ball over when pressured either. Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year when pressured. Also, what else does Cleveland do a lot of? Man coverage. 11th in the NFL in man coverage frequency. They're also very good at it. Want to know who one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL was against man coverage last year? Dak Prescott. 7.78 yards per pass attempt against man. Positive EPA. 2.08 turnover-worthy play. Fifth, fourth, and sixth in the NFL in those metrics. So Dak Prescott last year, excellent when pressured, excellent against man coverage. Definitely a solid start to the handicap for the Cowboys. And by the way, if you're looking for a player prop, if you watched the show last year, you know we were blindly taking CD Lamb overs against any team that runs man coverage. His numbers against man coverage last year were nuts. 4.35 yards per route run was the most in the NFL amongst receivers by far. Pretty sure Nico Collins was second at like 3.7. So second place wasn't even close. CD Lamb and Dak Prescott absolutely cooked on man coverage last year. So again, no question, this is a solid start to the handicap for Dallas. I also like what Dallas did in the draft. If you remember this new era of Cowboys football, it really started when they drafted the offensive line. They prioritized drafting the offensive line, and it worked out. Kind of looks like they're getting back to their roots here. Two of the first three picks in the NFL draft were offensive linemen, Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. I think Cooper Beebe is a great pick. They loved him at Kansas State. Looks like they're both going to be in the starting lineup here for Dallas. And then outside of them, look at the guards. Tyler Smith developing into a star. Zach Martin, established star, probably a Hall of Famer. Terrence Steele even played pretty well last year at right tackle. So I like the Dallas offensive line. I know losing Tyron Smith sucks, but at this point in his career, he was injured a lot. Also getting called with some penalties. I like the way this Dallas offensive line shapes up here. Now, it is week 1, and they're on the road in Cleveland, and there could be 2 rookies starting. So definitely a little bit concerning in terms of week 1. But in terms of the full season, I like the direction the Cowboys offensive line is heading. But now we get to some shaky-looking splits for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott doesn't throw a ton of intermediate passes. Likes to throw the short pass a lot, and he throws the deep pass a lot. Cleveland top 3, third in the NFL against the short pass, first against the deep ball. So definitely not a great look there. Also, this game's in Cleveland, and this Browns defense at home, probably don't even need to tell you. I'm sure you've heard. It was record-breaking good. I mean, just 4.0 yards per pass attempt allowed at home in Cleveland. That was the best in the NFL by a good margin. First in EPA. This defense at home was an absolute problem. And inversely, the Cowboys on the road were worse offensively. You see their passing numbers on the road, 6.7 yards per pass attempt. That was just 19th. They were 6th in EPA. They put up points, but their passing numbers definitely worse on the road. Look at Dak Prescott's home-away splits from last season. At home in Arlington, he was unstoppable. 120 passer rating, 73.3% completions, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. On the road, significantly worse. Not that he was terrible, but significantly worse on the road. So on the road in Cleveland is definitely a tough look. And on top of that, What's the weakness of this Cleveland Browns defense? Stopping the run. I mean, they were probably the best pass defense in the NFL last year, but against the run, they were more closer to average. I don't know what my thoughts are on the Cowboys' rushing attack this year. Here are the rushing numbers from last year. I mean, pretty average, 4.1 yards per carry. That was 16th in the NFL, 11th in EPA per rush, 15th in rushing DVOA. Their offensive line numbers in terms of creating space in the run game, pretty average, 12th in run blocking grade, 15th in adjusted line yards. And this Cleveland defense is in good shape. I mean, they pretty much bring back everybody. They lost a couple linebackers, but they replaced them. They lost Anthony Walker Jr., who was pretty good for them, but they brought in Jordan Hicks, Devin Bush. So this Cleveland defense should be every bit as good this year as they were last year. I don't think I can rely on Dallas getting the run game going here. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, he hasn't looked like an efficient running back in several years. So, yeah, it puts Dak Prescott in a really tough spot. The pressure's coming on the road. A couple rookies on the offensive line. I really don't like the spot for the Dallas offense here. Now, on the other side, we got the Cleveland offense, and Ken Dorsey takes over as the offensive coordinator, but Kevin Stefanski's still going to be calling the plays here. So I expect to see a similar offense to last year. Obviously, there's no Nick Chubb, but there was no Nick Chubb for most of last season either. This team ran the fastest pace in the NFL. They were actually first in pace, pretty balanced in terms of rushing and passing, 17th and 16th in frequency numbers. Here are their offensive metrics. This is a bottom 7 offense, 28th in yards per play, 28th in EPA, 28th in success rate, 25th in overall offensive DVOA. And what was the situation with the Browns offense all of last year? Obviously, Nick Chubb going down for the season. That was a crushing hit. Deshaun Watson dealing with injuries, inconsistent play, couldn't keep him on the field, yes. But also, the tackles. I mean, Conklin and Wills Jr. were both hurt last year. Unfortunately, that hasn't changed. They're still dealing with injuries from these two guys. In fact, Jedrick Wills was just ruled out of week 1. That happened about an hour ago. I mean, that was just announced. And Jack Conklin hasn't even been confirmed. Now, Conklin has been practicing. If you're a Browns fan, I have some good news. Conklin has been practicing, so I think that he has a good shot of playing. And also, they have DeJuan Jones, I think is his name. He's the 3rd tackle on Cleveland. He played really well last year when these guys were hurt. So if Conklin plays, I think they're going to be fine. They have 2 serviceable tackles. In fact, 2 good tackles, because we know when Jack Conklin's on the field, he's very good. So Jedrick Wills being out, that hurts, but they do have DeJuan Jones. But how do they match up against the Cowboys defense? And honestly, I really don't know what to expect. This is a big question mark unit here. Cowboys defense was pretty good last year. They were 10th in yards per play allowed, 4th in EPA, 21st in success rate. Really, basically, we saw the same thing from the Cowboys defense 2 years in a row. They started off the season looking like the best defense in the NFL. Second chunk of the season, they definitely fell off a little bit. And now they've got Mike Zimmer at defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn is obviously gone. Mike Zimmer hasn't called defensive plays at the NFL level since, I think, 2021. He's been with Coach Prime at Jackson State and then Colorado as an analyst. So who knows what to expect here. We know Dan Quinn ran a ton of man coverage last season. And honestly, Mike Zimmer used to run a lot of man coverage too. So I expect it to be somewhat similar. But actually, Dan Quinn and the Cowboys defense last year ran more man coverage than anyone else in the NFL. 63.2% of their snaps in coverage were in man coverage. As far as the Cowboys pass rush goes, I mean, again, tough to say. First 8-9 weeks of the season, it might have been the best pass rush in the NFL. Second half of the season, they were having trouble getting home. I mean, they finished the year just 16th in pressure rate. So will Mike Zimmer be sending blitzes? I really don't know. Definitely a little bit of a question mark. Now, the Cowboys defensive front last year definitely would have had the edge in terms of the run game. Cleveland's offense really struggled to create space in the run game last year. But here's the thing with the Cowboys defense. Not only did we see really inconsistent play last year, I mean, their season ended giving up a damn near 40-piece to the Packers. I mean, Jordan Love lit them up, and they started the season as the best defense in the NFL. And that happened 2 years in a row. So not only have we seen really inconsistent play from the Cowboys defense in back-to-back years, not only is there a new defensive coordinator, but they lost a ton of faces from this defense. Here's the depth chart from last year. In the secondary, Steph Gilmore's gone. Jaron Kearse is gone. Deron Bland's out 4 to 6 weeks. Trevon Diggs is there, but he missed pretty much all of last season. So even he's a relatively new face in there, at least to start the year. Leighton Vander Esch retired. Jonathan Hankins is gone. Doris Armstrong is gone. So of the starting 11 on the Cowboys defense that finished the season, there's only 3 or 4 faces that are going to be on the starting lineup for the Cowboys defense in week 1. Look, I'm not saying this Cowboys defense doesn't have talent. Of course it does. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs. I mean, they got guys that can play. Also, Marquise Bell showed some signs of life. They got a couple young linebackers I like. They have talent, But in terms of week 1, I really don't like it. There's a lot of new faces as well as a new defensive coordinator. Now you might say, Kyle, who cares? They're playing against Deshaun Watson. And it's kind of hard to argue against you there. I mean, his metrics last year amongst 39 qualified quarterbacks, 33rd in completion percentage, 28th in yards per pass attempt, 26th in passer rating. Certainly didn't look very impressive. Accuracy has not been the same since his shoulder injury. I will say, though, it's kind of hard to argue with W's and L's. I mean, the Browns were 5-1 in the games Deshaun Watson played. So take it or leave it. I'm not saying I have a ton of faith in Deshaun Watson. I'm not saying I have a ton of faith in the Browns offense. Just really don't trust the Cowboys defense in week 1 here with the new faces, which is why I'm on the dog pound in this one. I bet Cleveland. I took this a couple weeks ago. I think I got the money line at minus 130, somewhere in there. So I did bet the Browns. I like the spot for them in week 1. I think they win this game. I will say, though, if this line hits 3, I wouldn't be mad at you if you said you like the Cowboys at +3. I wouldn't hate it, but I do think Cleveland wins the game. So I'm on the Browns money line. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. It shows the bets I have open as well as other members of the staff here. Also, if you sign up for Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. So head over to KyleKirms.com and sign up if you're interested. Live shows, Saturday morning, college football, 10 a.m. to kickoff. Go through every single game on the board, or 27 of them, I think we have queued up. And then Sunday, NFL morning show, first one of the year. We'll be live around 11. Well, not around. We'll be live at 11 a.m. and we'll be rolling right up to kickoff. We'll go through every single game, do props, touchdown scorers, all that. It'll be fun. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a great NFL week 1. Please bet responsibly. It's a long season. Yeah, talk to you in the Discord. Let's have a good one.